Previously on Mashle, our four warriors fell into a mud trap made by the Worth Madel where they were separated, and now they are forced to face their opponents of Lupus magic. Worth in DL already warns the bidder that if he is a weakling and has no value, he will pay dearly. But Lance didn't like his arrogance one bit, and he immediately launched his gravity stating that he doesn't have time to play with him. And it ends up being surprised since Worth used his magic to turn the ground into mud, thus avoiding suffering damage from gravity. Lance embarks on a quest to find him, but all he can hear is his voice rambling on about the fascinating magic of gravity and how it almost took him by surprise. Meanwhile, 6 duplicates of himself emerge from the ground, stating that with such magical power, they could have fun. In response, they charge towards Lance. He doesn't hesitate and counterattacks all of them using his magic, resulting in his transformation into a sludge-like substance. However, these efforts are in vain when a mud spike emerges and nearly pierces Lance. He realizes that these bodies were just fakes, and if he wanted to defeat the canine, he would have to find the real body. He ponders the best strategy and decides to affect the entire area with his gravity magic, but this proves ineffective. The canine appears from behind him and traps his legs in mud. Lance wonders when he'll have time for that, but he doesn't have time to think. He is quickly targeted with multiple balls of mud at incredible speed, capable of tearing holes in walls where they collide. As Lance's situation worsens, the canine starts talking nonsense again. He suggests that Lance become his subordinate in Mage Lupus, recognizing his potential and saying that he has yet to shine due to his environment. The canine implies that by hanging around with trash, Lance will also become trash. Lance questions this, but the canine repeats that if he keeps mixing with Adler's trash, he will become trash too. The canine highlights the benefits of teaming up with the best and how in Mage Lupus there is an abundance of talent. Also, he mentions that with high quality education, artifacts, and magic potions, anything becomes possible. Lance regards this as bullshit, as his strength of conviction doesn't depend on his environment. The canine is enraged and starts cracking jokes again, but Lance has some ideas and uses his magic, this time towards the side wall, forcing the canine to almost go through it. Even so, the canine, surprised, manages to use its magic and enter the wall. He thinks to himself that no matter how hard Lance tries, his strategy of throwing him will never be effective, as the canine has created a damper with its magic across the entire venue. As he boasts, a shower of debris flies towards him, which impresses the canine. He sees through Lance's strategy, and his only way out is to jump off the wall. Lance discovered the canine's secret to dealing with his gravity. Lance even jokes with him, saying that, following canine logic, his environment is better, since he is stronger. He begins to remember his past, when he was a child prodigy of 2 lineages and lived a privileged life above everyone else. Even at Eastern Academy, he excelled and secured a place in Mage Lupus, which was only natural considering his skill. As he denies Lance's superiority over himself, he takes a potion out of his pocket and questions whether Lance truly believes he is stronger. He claims that the liquid is a magical concentrate absorbed from other students, and that only members of the Lupus magical clan are allowed to use it. Upon ingesting it, its magical energy explodes and changes color, becoming considerably more powerful. He proposes an immediate test to determine who is right once and for all. After pronouncing the name of his spell, a gigantic mud monster begins to form, with a goat's head and a humanoid body. The canine explains the different types of magic that exist and states that his is at a higher level compared to simple line spells. He argues that this is a high level spell, accessible only to 2-line mages, that is capable individuals, as he recalls the pressure he was under as a child because of his father. He asserts himself as someone of worth and claims that this magic is completely unattainable for undervalued students like Lance. During his speech, he launches an attack, but Lance deftly dodges it and proceeds to rebut the canine's word. To demonstrate just how misguided the canine is, Lance invokes the second phase of his magic, summoning chains from the ground and causing several pillars to appear. He calls this spell the Pole of Torture. The pillars quickly immobilize the mud monster, exerting immense gravitational force, completely disintegrating it. This happens before the canine's eyes, leaving him speechless as he sees his most powerful magic defeated. As he feels defeated, recalling the pressure exerted by his father, Lance throws a book in his direction and starts talking about the similarities between his parents and his expectations, offering the canine much needed encouragement to become a better person. In another scene, Mash, after removing his school uniform, warms up to face Abyss in direct combat. He dashes forward, leaping in with a kick that is blocked by Abyss's sword. Both realize the strength of the opponent, but as Mash takes a defensive stance, Abyss attacks him without his noticing, slashing him. Mash only realizes when the wound starts to bleed, and Abyss claims that Mash is in no condition to beat him. As he says this, several arrows come out of Abyss's back and scatter across the floor, being used by him like a skateboard, injuring Mash repeatedly. When stepping on the arrows, Abyss becomes extremely fast. In this point, Mash is seriously injured, and Abyss says that if he wants to continue this unequal fight, he will no longer hold back his blows. While Abyss keeps talking, Mash stops him, stating that he doesn't care about it and is determined to press on. Abyss asks if Mash wants to live in peace with his family and mentions that he dislikes this because even in a situation similar to his, Mash still thinks that way. Afterwards, Abyss reveals that he intends to show him Lemon's full power, placed in a device that collects magic, stating that in 30 minutes all her magic will be drained and her magic ability will disappear permanently. Abyss asks Mash's opinion, since his friend would be in the same situation as him, which could be advantageous. However, Mash responds that if what Abyss said is true. However, this time, Mash seems more active and determined to follow him with his eyes. Even pierced, it continues to protect the upper body, but that doesn't last long. When he feels that his abdomen has been hit, he realizes that the sword of Abyss is inside him. Abyss believes he won, but when trying to pull the sword out, he finds that it does not come out. Mash reveals that his abdomen is quite strong, grabbing Abyss' cape and swatting him with his head, removing the sword from within him and breaking the mask as he had promised. At that moment, Abyss reveals blue hair and only one red eye, while Mash, on seeing that eye, brilliantly concludes that it is conjunctivitis. Abyss realizes that Mash is unaware of that eye and explains that it is the eye of the demon, which temporarily prevents the opponent from using magic. In this world, where magic is everything, people have always feared Abyss because of that eye. Mash is sad and apologizes, as that eye does not affect his power. He tells Abyss that because he was born in a peaceful environment, he will never know what it's like to go through that suffering. As he finishes speaking, Abyss activates the second form of his magic, called Accelerate, creating a dome of arrows. The red arrows point down and the blue ones up, forming a force field. An arrow points down on Mash's belly as Abyss quickly advances towards him. Mash tries to punch him, but his movements are extremely slow, as he notices that several cuts appear on his body. Abyss asks if Mash is surprised he is slower, and explains that all moves within that spell, except his, are decelerated while he accelerates himself. With that, Abyss repeatedly attacks Mash at insane speed, while Mash defends himself. Meanwhile, Mash thinks, and when Abyss goes for the final blow, Mash plants his foot in the ground, preparing to strike him. He moves very slowly, but when he touches the ground, a fissure opens. Abyss is impressed, but claims that is not enough to stop his attack. While Abyss ponders, Mash approaches, ready to punch him in the face. Abyss still manages to defend himself with the sword, which shatters. Abyss realizes what Mash has done by opening up the ground and ending his escape route. He decides to retreat to recover, but Mash steps on his foot, trapping him there, and says that he has also achieved his second-class magic. He uses the powerful muscle's powerful magic, Hurricane Rush, and lands a straight punch in Abyss' abdomen, almost bringing him to the brink of unconsciousness. Abyss is hurled out of his own magic as he falls, in disbelief to see his magic being neutralized by such unrivaled strength. As the arrow on Mash disappears, he leaps towards Abyss, hitting him again with a knee in the back, sending him flying back into his own magic. As Abyss falls, he mulls over continuing to fight, invoking his magic and attacking Mash. However, when they come face to face, Mash grabs Abyss's small sword, invokes his strength in his forearm, and throws him away. Mash follows Abyss and this time summons his powerful quadriceps, throwing him to another corner of the room. Mash appears in the air, in front of Abyss, invoking the power of his breastplate, casting him once more into his own magic. Within the spell, Mash summons his hamstrings, but is once again tossed back and forth as if they were playing ping pong. In mid-air, Mash grabs Abyss and activates his sacroiliac muscles, forming a primary lotus on him, completely destroying his magic and nearly the entire room. Abyss, all bruised and looking like an old doll, begins to wonder what it would be like if he had been born as an ordinary person. He tells his sad story, where even his parents try to send him to Vasco's school. As he talks about his loyalty to Abel, Mash interrupts, saying that he doesn't really understand him, but that he would be willing to be his friend if he wanted to. However, amid Mashle's goodwill, Abyss tries to warn him, saying that he wouldn't be able to defeat Abel. Mash asked him to stop, as he is determined to face Abel, and even if the world denies the power of the Eye of Abyss, it would not change its attitude towards him. He claims that Abyss cannot use magic, and that's how his father created him. Moving on to his next challenge. Thank you so much for making it this far. Don't forget to subscribe to receive more content like this daily, and see you next time.